Hey, welcome to this week's video. In this week's video, I'm going to talk about 6 lessons or traits that I've seen over my many years of working with small businesses that I constantly and routinely see that are in the most successful businesses that I work with. Many of these that you may already be doing, many of them that you can easily implement in your business, and I will show you and tell you how you can do that. So let's get to work. So let's start with the first one, and the first one is failure is okay. And you know, in society as kids, we were taught that getting a grade of an F in school was very damaging and very bad. In fact, you had to take it to your parents and get it signed. It was looked upon very negatively when you were in school. But the reality is we should teach our kids that failure is okay. And in fact, failure was what actually makes us better. You know, I think of my childhood hero of Michael Jordan when he said that he failed over and over and over again, and that's actually why he succeeds. So as an entrepreneur, you got to keep telling yourself that failure is okay. What's more important is that you learn from that failure and you make a pivot and to do better and to avoid that failure in the future. That's more important, and that's what our kids should learn when they get an F on their report card. If you're working hard and trying to earn that grade and you get that grade of a failure, don't look at it as failure, look at it as an opportunity. The second thing to think about is that taxes actually make you richer. And what I mean by that, as an employee, you actually pay more tax than what a business owner does. So taking advantage of the things that are written in the tax code to help you save on taxes is very important. In fact, the tax code was actually written to encourage certain behavior, and the behavior that the tax code really favors is a small business and running a small business and starting a small business. But the thing to remember is that you need to understand what that tax code is, have a plan in place to address that, and it's very important that you work with a tax professional or someone that will help you into putting together a plan of what you can save on taxes and what you can expect on taxes, and then update that plan every year to make sure that you're taking full advantage of what the government already gives you. The last thing I want to say on this topic is please don't let the tax wag the business. And what I mean by that is a lot of times business owners are more concerned about taxes and not paying taxes than they are in actually running the business. And yes, taxes are very important, but it's not the main focus of your business. The main focus, right, is to make money. And then you can deal with the taxes on the back end. So don't let the tax wag the business. But remember, there are things that you can do to reduce your tax liability, and that's what having a tax plan will actually help you accomplish. Next is to master the drivers of sales. And what I mean by this is that most business owners focus on getting more customers, but when you break down the drivers of revenue, there's actually 2 others that are very important, and you need to master these areas of the drivers of sales. And what I mean by that is that, yes, customers definitely are an important part of the sales formula, but if you look at it, it's actually the sales, it's actually the average spend, and it's actually the frequency of that spend. If you focus on the latter, the last 2 parts of the sales drivers, what you'll understand or what you'll get is that actually helps increase your sales more than going out and getting more customers, because going out and getting more customers is hard. Whereas the others, you already have the customers. Put in place systems that will increase the average spend, will increase the frequency. And if you spend time in those areas, you will see an increase in your sales. In fact, it's actually easier and cheaper because the less marketing that you have to do than if you actually go out and try and increase by trying to add customers. Next is to select the correct entity. And this I often see as a mistake as many business owners. They automatically default to an S corporation because Larry, the cable guy down the street, said, oh, you need to be an S corporation, when in fact that may not be the correct business entity for you. The other thing is to think about, you need to work with an accountant or an attorney, because a lot of times I see that this gets screwed up. And when in fact they think they're an S corp, they're not an S corp, and it actually ends up costing them more money that if they hadn't have gone down the path of the recommendation. So as you might know, there's different entities that you can do. In fact, an S Corp, one of the biggest myths, is not actually an entity. It's an actual election that you make. It's a corporation or an LLC that you tell the IRS that, hey, I want to be taxed as an S corporation, which is just a subchapter of the IRS code. So each of these entities, you really need to go through and work with your accountant to figure out what makes the most sense for you to be from a tax savings. And then I recommend you work with a lawyer, because a lot of times I hear that, oh, I'm an LLC because I want to have liability protection. Well, do you really have liability protection? Is that what you've worked with your attorneys to make sure that you have? Do you have a partnership where you work with somebody else? Do you have an operating agreement to help protect you? I see a lot of businesses get in trouble with operating agreements with partners, and having a lawyer, yes, it may be expensive, but it definitely is worth it in the long term. So I recommend those two, work with your accountant and your attorney to make sure that you are in the right entity, and that's extremely important. Next is learn to take the right risk. What I mean by this is that anytime you are going into a business venture, or actually anything really in life, think about what it is I'm going to return on that investment, and is that return enough for me to make it worthwhile? And what I mean by that is, if you look at actually the return on investment formula, you're looking at what the return is going to be, and what that is that what is it going to cost me, and then what am I going to generate in revenue divided by what that investment really is. And if I'm not earning more than 15% on that investment, then it may not be something that I want to pursue. So take an example, buying a piece of equipment. If I bought a piece of equipment that actually would generate increased revenue, make things easier, so that my actual return on buying that equipment would be way more than the cost, then that would make sense to do. But if that's not the case, then maybe you don't buy that equipment. The same thing goes for if you're hiring employees or whatever else you're doing, looking to expand your business. It's extremely important that you take this into consideration so that you're focusing your time on the right things that generate a return on your investment. And after all, that's what you're going in business to do, is to earn money and make money off of that return of what your time and money that you're putting into that business. Next is understand value. And what I mean by this is, when you are going to sell a product or a service, it is important that you focus on the value that you're providing your customers, and then everything else will follow. What I mean by that is the value really needs to exceed the price. If you focus on nailing that down, if you focus on customer experience or making your product the best that it could be, the customer will look at it as, I'm getting what? That's actually a no-brainer. I definitely want to purchase that. And in fact, I think Russell Brunson said it really well in An Entrepreneur, and really in understanding who you serve. And that's really what your business is set up to be. And when he said that, I have a belief that entrepreneurship and business is not something that we just pursue in life. It's actually a calling. And what he really means by that is that the money is important, and the money will follow, though, from your investment in your customers and making sure that you're delivering the best product to them. Everything else will kind of follow from that. So if you understand that value and you're constantly trying to add to that value, how can I make it better for my customers? The money will follow, and you can actually charge higher prices and more profitability. So in summary, these are the things and the traits that I've seen in businesses. Let me know down in the comments below what you have seen as well, any that I'm missing. There are a lot to being an entrepreneur, and I boiled it down to these 6, but there are many others. If these are the main core areas, though, it's important that you take a look at what you're doing and take a look in your business on how you might be able to change them and how that actually can impact your numbers. So if you like this video, you got any value out of it, it'd be awesome if you hit that thumbs up, and it'd be great if you are a subscriber. So I'll catch you on the next one.